Hello, welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show. I am your host, Willie Bragg, and let me get everything set up. Just trying to, there we go. Yeah, I am your host, Willie Bragg. I hope everything is okay and your day is well and all of that. I was going to do a video yesterday. I just was very, very tired. So there's that. So today, well, yesterday actually, I did catch the episode with the Kyle Kulinski show, and he was talking about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and AOC just recently was complaining about the way things are in Washington D.C. And it's easy to be frustrated with things as they are. I don't know anybody, regardless of what side you are on the political spectrum, that looks at the status quo and thinks, well, gee, I like the way things are. Unless you're like super, super, super wealthy, then if you're rolling in the dough, you love the status quo. But suffice to say, she actually was talking about some other things, and Kyle Kulinski He has something to say about it, and it put some thoughts in my head about his observations, and I'm going to share a few words myself afterwards. Hold tight a moment, and we'll get started. All right, let's see. Okay, give me a moment here. All right, we'll get started. Here we go.
All right, guys. So AOC, I guess this was on TikTok. I don't know. I'm a boomer. I don't know all the different social media outlets and which one is which. I don't know if it's TikTok. Insta is probably TikTok. TikTok is more video. Insta is more pictures. Anyway, so she had some thoughts for us on the term Latinx. I got 2 separate short videos here. Let's go through them, and I'll respond.
Also, in the spirit of pride, I wanted to have a note on gender inclusivity in Spanish language. People sometimes like to make a lot of drama over the term Latinx, but even before Latinx, people were trying to do this like an at to have the A and the O together. Gender is fluid, language is fluid, and I think people right now are using the E term as gender neutral in order to be as inclusive as possible. Don't have to make drama.
I think that was supposed to say don't have to make drama over it. All right, let's see what else she says. We got one more in here.
I also have a mini rant about this because there are some politicians, including Democratic politicians, that rail against the term Latinx. And they're like, this is so bad for the party, like blah, blah, blah. And like, it's almost as though it has not struck some of these folks that another person's identity is not about your re-election prospects. Like, this is not about you. Second of all, if putting a little X on your campaign literature is what you think is the difference between winning or losing an election, you need to talk about healthcare more. You need to raise people's wages. You need to talk about more issues that also matter to people.
Well, that part is true. Talk more about healthcare, talk more about minimum wage, talk more about the substantive material economic issues. I'll bite my tongue until she's done talking here, and then I'll respond, but maybe, AOC, you should take your own advice as you're doing a smug rant here about the necessity of using the term Latinx. Maybe you should take your own advice. Hey, why don't we focus on the things that matter to all Americans that are the bread and butter issues that would win us elections? This little TikTok you did here is not really about that now, is it?
That being said, why are people opting for trying to use Latina over Latinx? Well,
are they? Are they? Or are you in your insular little bubble subculture of academia and elites and activists? Is this really a hot conversation that's happening all around the country? I'm going to bite my tongue. Sorry, I keep trying to interject, but I'll show you in a second.
Latinx can be convenient in written form because you just put down an X and people can kind of mentally put in whatever.
Yeah, very convenient. All this is very convenient. It's very convenient every 2.5 years to change all of the terminology.
Vowel they identify with. But it's kind of hard to say. So Latine, you avoid the masculine O.
Are you taking notes, guys?
You avoid the feminine A. Latine, E, is a little more neutral, so it can be more inclusive to people. For example, saying nosotres. That being said, if you don't want to use it, no one's forcing you to.
Really? And why are you doing this whole thing imploring people to use it? You should really use this. But, hey, I'm not forcing you to or anything.
But for people who enjoy trying to figure out language and have it meet the modern age, that's kind of where it's at.
Okay, great. What do we have here? Oh, look at this. In 2020, about 1 in 4 U.S. Hispanics have heard of Latinx, but just 3% use it. 3% use it. 97% don't use it. The majority haven't even heard of it. So, let me explain something. If somebody tells me, hey, I want you to refer to me as this, I'm always going to refer to them as that, because I'm not a dick. And, I'm not trying to create problems out of nothing. I'm not trying to create a mountain out of a molehill. So if somebody says to me, use this for me, sure, no problem at all. But the idea that this is going to become commonplace vernacular and the default when talking about Hispanics is preposterous. 97% of Hispanics don't do it. So what are we talking about here? What are we talking about here? Now, look, I'm very critical. Whenever the right brings up wokeness, I'm very critical because they use that as a wet blanket to throw over everything. I mean, you could literally be talking about universal healthcare. They're like, look at this woke nonsense. So,
okay, let me interrupt. I'm going to talk about what he said about healthcare very quickly. What he just said about healthcare, but let's back it up a little bit. And I have said this before about myself. I am half Puerto Rican. I'm half Hispanic. I am proud of my Puerto Rican heritage from my mother's side. I grew up at a time when there were hardly any Hispanics around. So this is why I am very Anglo in my demeanor, because the environment around. And I have no issue with my Anglo demeanor either. It is what it is. I am who I am, and there's no issue either way. The language policing is a little silly. It's a bit much. is all about nothing. I wish AOC would have put that much passion in force the vote and punish Nancy Pelosi after the way that Nancy Pelosi treated AOC for the last almost 2 years. You know, I think that it would have been better. Looking back, AOC should have just went full steam ahead. No matter what her opinion is of Jimmy Dore, this isn't about Jimmy Dore in all other respects, except that he was correct on force to vote. Because, hey, they didn't do force to vote because they were scared that we weren't going to get any health care. There's no public option. There's no prescription drug reform, let alone there's no single payer Medicare for all. And remember, you heard me say it before. If I had it my way, we'd have a national health service. In fact, let me state it clear. I know I'm wearing a Che Guevara shirt for the effects, but let me make it clear. Let me make it clear. Call it irony. Let me make it clear. There's one thing I'm a tanky on at this point is fucking healthcare. I would not have any problems with just putting private health insurance executives in jail and people that runs big pharma in jail and having the government usurping the profits and the healthcare industries away to actually make it for the people, because the private medical industrial complex are killing people by depriving people in the name of profits. But anyway, that's it's that crucial that we need healthcare at this point. They are the enemy of the American people. Private health insurance is actually a bigger enemy at this point than radical fundamentalists halfway across the world 20 years ago. And they were pretty bad, but these people that run the health care infrastructure in this country, the delivery system in the private sector, are just as malice. But anyway, Kyle's right. The health, right-wing people talking about woke. They think that providing health care, one of the most class reductionist shit around, they call it woke. I have actually heard some right-wing morons call universal health care woke, which is ironic because Nye Bevan in Great Britain, who was the health minister after World War II, call it Christianity. So, there's that. I'll let Kyle continue.
They're ridiculous. The way they use it is dumb. Cancel culture too, talking about that and bringing it up in every single context when it doesn't apply, that annoys the shit out of me. But when people, in honest criticism of quote-unquote wokeness is this. I think Michael made a good point about this. Look at this. This is an example of why AOC will never be a viable presidential candidate in a general election. She's out of touch with the vast majority of working-class Latino voters.
Okay, I want to bring up another point. Now, there's people have criticized Kyle for basically being some kind of a hack for AOC and the squad. Anybody listening to Kyle in the last year and a half who listens to him pretty often, will pretty much, he will tell you how much of a regret and how much of a failure that he think he committed by creating or helping in the creation of the Justice Democrats group. Now, I kind of don't think he's a failure. In fact, anything, I think that it was a noble experiment. It actually created a presence. Something can be done. I like to think that maybe if there's a willingness, a will to do this, maybe a national third party could be created in the near future if the frustration is hyped up enough, because we're getting not next to nothing, we're getting absolutely nothing from Joe Biden and company. It's what I expected. It's actually less than what I expected, because I thought we were going to get a fucking $15 hour minimum wage. We didn't even get that. So anyway, I'm going to, but before I get back to Kyle, and I'm glad Kyle brought that up about AOC running for president. I guess she's fine in her district, but she has no business running for president. And I know many leftists who are captivated by her, wanting to run for president and everything. And honestly, she lacks the maturity to run for president. And I know I'm running her down again, like I have been doing recently. And I have forgiven her for working with Christian Smalls with the ALU once the ALU unionization of Amazon in Staten Island became successful. She wanted to take credit for it, and she really did deserve credit for it at that time because she couldn't be bothered. She wanted to wear the Chick-fil-A dress at that silly Mets gala, wherever the fuck she was going. She wanted to wear that and hang out with celebrities and all of that, and whatever. That was more important to her than hanging out with a bunch of union folks. So thing about it is, I was frustrated as hell with AOC over this because I was like I was a total AOC hack in early 2019. Early 2019, all the way up to Force the Vote. I was like the loudest AOC cheerleader you could imagine. I mean, the only person I cheerlead more than AOC was Bernie Sanders, of course. Me being basically the Bernie bro OG there was pretty much since 1990, 1991, that far back. But Kyle's correct. She does not have the maturity or the chops that it takes to become president. And God help us. I mean, if that's she's not going to make it to the primary. I mean, you see what they did to Bernie. You think that they're going to go and do that? You think they're going to allow AOC to get the nomination? Honestly, I mean, you think that they're going to do that? I mean, look what they did to Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, they, look what they did to Marianne Williamson. Look what they did to some of the others. I mean, if they did that to some of the other small tier candidates, they'll do that to AOC. She will be a small tier candidate if she ran in the primaries. They're going to make damn sure that AOC will remain a small tier candidate. I promise you, they would. I mean, that's the way it would be. I mean, I think she's got good politics, but her priorities sometimes is messed up, and it's part of the age process. I'm sounding like the get off my lawn old man attitude, but when I was her age, I think I even back then had a better grasp on things. And I was in a third party, hardcore in a third party 20 years ago, back then when I was her age. And I was thinking along the lines of what to do when it comes to how to improve lives of people other than language policing and the identity politics game. Don't get it twisted. When it comes to the identity politics and what SJWs want, I know that's very 2015, 2016 talk. I'm basically for the same fucking thing, therefore, I'm just not for the authoritarianism of it. I just want it to evolve naturally. The persuasion, you do it through the power of persuasion. You do it by the power of persuasion, not making other people feel like shit for it, unless the people who are being a shit on the other side, yeah, there's that. But there's the power of persuasion. Let Kyle continue.
It's the truth. Look, all of the language policing and stuff like that, this is popular in liberal academia. It's popular with a very tiny sliver, a subculture on the left and of liberals. This is not speaking the language of the working class. Again, if you want me to refer to you as something, I'm always going to refer to you as it. But yeah, you have to say refer to me as X, Y, or Z. Then okay, cool, no problem. But the idea that people should be saying Latinx totally unprompted, that this should be pivot and a transition in language that everybody should adopt? Look, I'll bring it up again. And let's be kind. This was from 2020. Only 3% of Hispanics use it. Let's say it doubled since 2020. 6% of Hispanics use it. Okay, so I side with 94% of Hispanics. She sides with 6% of Hispanics. But guess who would be accused of being anti-Hispanic because of the terminology they use? That's the thing that drives me crazy. Is like, and you know there are people out there who would say it's like bigoted for me not to concede completely to her argument, and I'm like, I'm old and I'm out of touch, and you know I'm not up with the times. No, quite literally, the numbers show she's not in touch with the times. So, and understand something, guys. This isn't a blanket generalization, because it's true, language does evolve over time. But some of the ways in which people try to change language don't land, and they're not gonna land. And it's like trying to force a square peg into a round hole, and it's really insular, and it turns people to fuck off. You know, like I get it. Back in the day, the terminology used to be illegal alien. Everybody said that. And then after a while, it became illegal immigrant. And it's like, okay, that's better. Alien, it like literally is trying to make somebody who's a fellow human being sound like foreign and scary, right? And so different. So I understand how that was clearly like a propaganda term that was sort of nefarious, right? But then it changed to illegal immigrant. Now that sounded fun to me, right? Like, yeah, they're not an alien, they're a person. They're an immigrant, right? So illegal immigrant. I thought that's a reasonable change. But then it changed to undocumented immigrant. And it was like, well, hold on. And the argument was, well, no human being can be illegal. So therefore we have to change illegal immigrant to undocumented immigrant. And it's like, okay, I'll go along with you, but I know that the word's going to be changed in 3.5 minutes again, and then you're going to change it again after that, and then you're going to change it again after that. And at the end of the day, it's like, why are we doing all this? Why are we doing all this? You want to make reasonable changes? Sure. But you, like, just changes for change's sake because somebody made up a dumb argument that they insist everybody should believe, and then we all have to change after that. It's like, we're wasting our fucking time here, guys. We're wasting our time here. And that, like, liberal oversensitivity and ability to get offended at fucking anything is something that turns off working class voters. There is no doubt about it. If you've ever been to a fucking union hall, you know that. So it's time to wake up. It's time to wake up. If somebody wants me to refer to them as that, I'll do it in a heartbeat because I'm not an asshole. I'm not trying to make a big issue out of absolutely nothing. It wouldn't be a big deal to me if somebody said I'm Latinx, so call me Latinx. Fine, no problem. But is that going to be my default shit? We're talking about Hispanic people? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I'm with 97% of Hispanics. And so I would argue that makes me more in touch than out of touch. And she's the one who's out of touch. Again.
Okay, I want to also add this. I mean, and another thing I want to add is, you know, when it comes to the issue of Hispanic Americans, Latinos, Latina, the Hispanic community, and all of that. You know, the language policing, not interested in that. What I am interested in with regard to the Hispanic community is basically immigration reform, basically to try to find a way to solve the dilemma, because it's not a problem. The Hispanics that are here in America are human beings like everybody else. It's not a problem. They're not a problem. The problem is the U.S. foreign policy toward a lot of Latin America. And an inconsistent policy because we allow Cubans in. Now, Tucker Carlson talks about the great replacement theory. You know, doesn't want the Mexicans to come in because he thinks they're going to vote Democrat. But he doesn't mind Cubans coming in because they're going to go. A lot of Cubans vote Republican. I mean, you know, so he's being a hypocrite there. And the thing about it is, Hispanics are not a monolith. They are not a monolith. You know, yes, most Cubans will vote Republican because they think that the Republicans are going to fight against communism a little harder. You know, and let's see, and you know, the Mexican American community are going to be split. You're going to have some, they're going to be liberal leaning. You're going to have some who are going to be, you know, conservative leaning because the majority are, you know, majority of Mexicans are Roman Catholic. So the demographics, they're going to be in the middle, like the broader Catholic population. You know, some Hispanic Catholics are going to vote Republican because of issues like abortion and some of the social issues. And some Hispanics are going to go and vote Democrats because even though the Democrats con working class people and thinking that they're the working class party, we're just going to go and pretend they are for a moment, that the Democrats are that they're voting for their economic interests by voting for the Democrats. The Latino, the Latin community's vote is up for grabs. It's not a guarantee going for Democrats and Republicans. And why does it have to be Democrats and Republicans? What about fucking third parties? You know, what about fucking third parties? Is always got to be Democrats, Republicans, really? You know, but yeah. I mean, when I hear like, oh, it's just because they're going to vote for the Democrats. In here, hold on, yeah, they would change their position and allow them in because Republicans are partisan hacks. A lot of them are. So are Democrats too. I'll let Kyle continue.
And I'll read Michael's tweet one more time here. It's just a waste of, why are we talking about this? It's such a fucking waste of time. This is an example of why AOC will never be a viable presidential candidate in a general election. Look, that makes I'm not happy to say that. She's better on the economic policies than 96% of elected Democrats. So yeah. I wish she would. I wish she would be a viable presidential candidate, but she's shooting herself in the foot with stuff like this. Because this is out of touch with the vast majority of working class Latino voters and all working class voters. This elite academia subset that just gets obsessed with language and language policing. It's not a concern for everyday working people of all backgrounds, all ethnicities, all religious beliefs or non-religious beliefs. Like she said in the video, I would tell her to take her own advice. Take your own advice. Talk about healthcare. Talk about higher wages. Talk about corruption and how we end it. Talk about stopping the outsourcing of jobs. Talk about unions. Talk about ending war. Because this stuff is just a mindless virtue signal. It didn't catch on. It's not going to catch on. And I think people are living in a fantasy land when they pretend like it is going to catch on, number one, or number two, that it's a super duper important issue. The only thing that I would say is, yes, if somebody wants you to refer to them as X, Y, or Z, do it. That's what a decent person would do, of course. But do you have to make it your default language? Is there something wrong with you if you're not leading the charge on the Latinx name change? Fuck no. Fuck no. Gotta get out of that insular subculture bubble. You really do. Because this ain't it. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click.
Okay, I'm back. And where am I? There I am. So anyway, as I said, yeah, I largely agree with Kyle on that one. And as I said, I mean, and as I said the other day, I am usually pretty perplexed on AOC because in 1 minute I have empathy for her. The next minute I am frustrated as hell, and I want to pull out my gray hairs when she engages in some of the silly theatrics and drama she engages in. And honestly, I mean, as far as AOC, the person, I never met her. But I genuinely like her. I mean, as far as she's likable, but I want her to not just be likable. I want her to be, I mean, it's not about liking somebody. It's not about liking somebody. I want her to be committed to fucking policy. I mean, this is why people like myself and people like myself, there are people like myself that 100% wash their hands and feel like she's part of the problem, and they're like, well, she's just Nancy Pelosi, or some people even think she's Mitch McConnell now. I mean, but the point I'm trying to make is and I understand where they're coming from. And then there's some people who think she could do no wrong, and I don't know what the fuck they're thinking. And then there's people like me, and I get very frustrated with her, but and there are times, I mean, I felt like she's tried to rehabilitate herself recently, but it's mess like this that she'll engage in this kind of crap that doesn't mean a damn thing. What means things is to fight like hell, fight like hell against the Biden presidency, fight like hell against Nancy Pelosi. The one thing she is doing effectively, she is making Chuck Schumer a less shitty senator. If AOC was not a member of Congress, Chuck Schumer will be a hell of a lot shittier than he is, and he's a shitty senator. He's a shitty majority leader, and he's a shitty senator. I would never vote for. I still don't like Chuck Schumer, but I would like him a hell of a lot less if AOC wasn't there, because he fears an AOC primary challenge from her, and that's why he's not as shitty as he could potentially be at this point. So anyway, I try not to make these commentaries long, but somehow I end up being very, very long-winded. I apologize, folks. We have a chat line here. I'm sorry. Hot Retarded Chick said, fuck yeah. Hey, Hot Retarded Tricks. I'm always glad to see you here. You're always welcome on my chat line. Kyle's gangster. Kyle was gangster on this commentary. He has his dry moments lately. Since Bernie's dropped out, he's not been quite as edgy as he used to be. But he has his good moments, and I think that was one of his better recent videos. I love Alexandria. Oh, I do too. But I would love her to do good work and be the Alexandria that I dreamt for her to be in 2018, 2019. Let's see. Bruno Goethe writes, is there anyone in the progressive movement that is similar to Bernie as appealing to the Rust Belt, lifelong Republicans, etc.? Appealing to lifelong Republicans, if you're saying? Let's see. I'm trying to think anybody in the Democratic Party. The only person that I think could fall very close to that would be John Fetterman of Pennsylvania. If he gets elected as U.S. Senator, he is the Democrat that I do like. And if I live in Pennsylvania, you see, I don't want anybody taking it as me being like for the Democrats, because I would vote for John Fetterman as John Fetterman. I would not vote for John Fetterman as a Democrat. I would vote for John Fetterman as John Fetterman, the individual. Because if I were to move to Pennsylvania between now and November, I live in North Carolina. I'm voting for Matthew Hoh, who's the Green Party candidate for the U.S. Senate down here. Because I will not vote for a corporate Democrat. If a Democrat is good on paper, I would say go ahead and vote, especially if they're good on paper. But they have a chance they need to prove themselves. So with that question, I would say that probably John Fetterman may be the closest thing out there. So let's see here. They want to make America Catholic. Yes. I don't know about that, but just a friend of mine who is a Republican from Italy. When I was in college, he wasn't sure what political party he was going to belong to. He was a political science major. He was actually undecided, and he's actually pretty moderate. He was telling me that to fear not, because back in the early 90s, he figured that there would be Hispanics coming into the United States in the future, and he thinks that things like the death penalty will be abolished at one point, because if you have enough Hispanics in this country, it could turn the tide against the death penalty. I was like, that's an interesting thought. But and I thought about it. It's like, well, that's true, because I'm half Puerto Rican, and there has not been an execution in Puerto Rico since 1927. So there you have it. Fuck Chuck Schumer. Absolutely. It's Dirtbag Leftist. Great name. Hey, Willie, agree with you and Kyle. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Let's see. Yeah, Fetterman was my first thought. Yeah, I was impressed with John Fetterman, as I said, especially when Connor Lamb in the primaries was attacking this corporate Democrat. Connor Lamb was attacking John Fetterman from a 1993 style Rush Limbaugh talking point. And, if you're going to go and do that, you can't be that bad of a candidate. So, and it proves my point that a lot of Democrats rather lose sucking the dead the dead body of Ronald Reagan's cock than to win with a Bernie Sanders style populist message. And that's what I have noticed. And, you know, but if I say that too loud, I'll have some Democrats saying that I'm just sitting there sheep herding for the Republicans. I've actually been told that I sheep herd for the Republicans. And of course, as independent as I am, I've actually had some Republicans and even some libertarians who really are Republicans telling me that I sheep herd for the Democrats, even though if you check how my voting record has been predominantly like 90% plus independent pretty much since the mid 1990s, since 1992 actually. 1992 was the last year I voted for a straight ticket Democratic slate. So I'm pretty much 90% independent. Since then, I left a lot of choices, candidates blank because they were worthless from both parties too. Some candidates are just awful. So there you have it. Well, I ran it long enough. So if you all like what you heard, press like and comment. If you comment anyway, if you disagree with what I have to say, we'll have a conversation. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As the First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it because we're, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. And until next time, remember, class war all the way. We need to fight this class war. We never need to fight with a military intervention because military interventionism does nothing more than to enable the military industrial complex and fatten the profits of the defense contractors. We need to fight for equality of all people, regardless of race, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, and whatever circumstances they are from in life. And we need to fight for the First Amendment, freedom of speech, because when we defend all free speech, we're also defending our own damn free speech. And we need to defend freedom of the press because when people like Julian Assange is not free, none of us are free. And that makes us all Julian Assange. Until next time, remember, I will be back one of these days, maybe tomorrow, and music.